Good morning, everybody. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas here. I got a little video I want to do that I think you'll find interesting, and it come from a Facebook post, but really it started with a comment that I got on YouTube from a YouTube friend, and here it was. It says, "This is a video I made." It says he thought people were breaking into his last home, and that's part of the defamation of character, that's gone on to try to cover up the many crimes against me, the homes being broken into. There's proof of homes, homeowners all over the place reporting people in the attic. Multiple people documented saying tunnels underground facility here. Proof I wasn't shot with my own gun, knowing it's a murder attempt. Suspected multiple murders, the last homeowner, the young girl at the oil show party, the proof of the medical crimes, faking x-rays, the maiming, mutilation, dismemberment, but this group of people, what I call the crime ring, have worked every way you could to try to discredit me. Oh, he's crazy and all that. And one of the things is, he thought people were breaking in his Hobbs home too, where before he moved to Midland, and actually that isn't entirely true. That what they tried to do was twist the facts of basically what happened in the Hobbs home, and that's what this Facebook post is going to explain here. Anyway, my YouTube friend, she said, wow, such a beautiful family. I'm sorry that you were not believed. And what pointed you to the home in Hobbs as being rigged? Okay, and this is in Hobbs, New Mexico. It's in southeast Mexico, about 100 miles from Midland, where I'm at right now. And this whole area is part of the Permian Basin oil field. So they're very similar neighboring towns, and even though in two different states. And so I have a Google Maps picture is what I used for this video here that's on my YouTube channel. And I'm going to zoom in here in a minute. This is at 7611 Rolling Meadows in Hobbs, New Mexico. There's the home that I lived in, and I moved there in 1992 when I was transferred back from Orla, Texas, where I was living in a camp at a gas plant for used to be Phillips Petroleum, and then GPM, then DCP. And what I'm showing here is that this home here to the north of it was my former in-laws' home, and was Ann and Don Callaway, and they built both these homes. Okay, so before I moved here, Ann and Don lived in this home right here, and like I said, when I moved back, I ended up buying this home, and interestingly, it was my Tammy Callaway, my first ex-wife, her husband, the late Mike Burns, was a realtor, and he's the one that found me that home. So really, it was my first ex-wife that helped find me this home when I was looking for a home or whatever, and it was the one that her parents had built, the Callaways. So anyway, we're going to go back to this post here. And so I have a little write-up here, but I took every paragraph there and broke it down in the comments and with proof pictures, as I do. Okay, so here's my first paragraph here. Thank you, Bo. In 2002, my youngest daughter noticed a light on in the attic, and I knew that I hadn't been up there. This happened right after I had separated from Cindy Barton, and I was guessing that she had sneaked into my home. We had just painted the living room, and there was a small home where the large beam of wood connects to the ceiling. Light was shining through this hole, and this is how my daughter knew that light was on in the attic. It wasn't on when we painted the week before, when the kids were out for the Christmas holiday. Okay, so Cindy and I had separated from we were married. We separated from a divorce, and during the Christmas holiday, me and the girls, Jennifer and Jordan, we painted the living room right there, and you can see the living room right here, and you can see the large beam of wood up here on the vaulted ceiling, and there's a crack right there, and that's where my daughter was in the living room and watching TV and laying on the couch, whatever, and she could see a light was on coming in the attic, coming down. That's how she knew that a light was on the attic, and she come and told me that. Okay, I knew I hadn't been in the attic. I had stuff stacked by the door to go up there, but I hadn't been up there. So, and I knew it wasn't on the week before because we painted this whole thing. I was up there on a ladder, and so somebody had been in my attic. I was absolutely 100% positive somebody was in the attic of my Hobbs home back in 2002. Okay, this is the outside of that home right here, and the home over here is the one that was built by my in-laws. The Callaways, Ann and Don Callaway. Okay, so anyhow, I wanted to explain that you know, we thought people were in the attic with Hobbs home. Well, what I did is I figured out because of what my daughter, that somebody had been in the attic, but I thought it was the ex-wife. Okay, because I just separated from Cindy. Okay, and I'm going to tell that story. A few months later, she answered the phone inside my home. This was Cindy, and while I was at work, and accidentally left her voice on the answer machine. So this confirmed that she was breaking into my home. Okay, so what happened was, here I'm going through divorce, and I come home from work, and there's a message on my answer machine, and I listen to it, and I hear this woman speaking, saying, "Is Cindy there? Is Cynthia Webb there?" And then at the end of the call, it goes, you know, I hear the phone pick up, and I hear Cindy go, "Hello," and then click. And it was real clear, and it was time stamped, that Cindy was in my home at 11 something whatever that day, and the phone rang, and she let it go to the answering machine. She heard the message, and it was somebody asking for her, and that's why she answered it. And she tried to turn the answering machine off before, and she accidentally left her voice on my machine. So I had proof that Cindy was in my home. Remember, we're separated, living in two different homes, going through a divorce at the time. Okay, and so then that's when I was like, oh, so it was Cindy that was in my attic. That's what I thought. So, you know, so when they go, oh, he's crazy, he thinks people in the attic of his Hobbs home too, you know, that's what they're trying to say, you know, and they're ignoring the fact that homeowners all over Midland, Odessa, Texas, and multiple other states are documenting reporting people in the attic. Okay. And so here I'm going to show you, this is when we got married. This is a picture of Cindy. Cindy died later that year. She goes to the hospital not feeling good, and then she dies, you know, and so I call that mysterious, because she seemed kind of young. But I know one person on Facebook said something like, well, at least they're killing themselves off quickly. But I don't know if that's the case, but I 100% believe that Cindy knew what was going on here in Midland at my home, and I think that Hobbs home was rigged, and she probably knew that too. And you know, and possibly her daughter Alyssa used to be on my friends list, and I used to see odd Facebook posts that I wondered if Alyssa knew about this home here in Midland being rigged too. And Alyssa, I think, is living now in Colorado, okay, married or whatever. The police refused to file a report, and my attorney sent her attorney a message advising that we would press charges if she came to my home again. Okay, so I went back in my records, and my divorce attorney was Templeman and Crutchfield over in Lovington at the time, and it's dated 2003, August 2003. Here in 2002 in March, conference with Mr. Webb, re-entry the house by Mrs. Webb, and a review spreadsheet. Okay, so my attorney billed me for this message they sent to her attorney telling her we had proof she was breaking into my home. Okay, so now when somebody out there is going, oh no, here he's crazy, he thought people breaking in his Hobbs home, in the attic of his Hobbs home too. Well, now you know what they're referencing. They're referencing my daughter telling me there was light on in my attic, my home. Okay, and so that what they're trying to do is twist the facts to cover up the crimes. And so if anybody tells you that, you need to start suspecting them and wonder what they know about these crimes, which means what they know about these multiple murders too. Okay, my next comment says, I forgot about it until years later when I was learning that homeowners all over had reported people in the attic. And I have the video people in the attic right here, okay? And I'll just click that real quick. That's on my YouTube channel. And I've even done a in-depth series of videos called Attic Investigations, where I pull these addresses up. I'm going to see if I can pull one up here.
Here more than
that was a Vivint alarm system I put in my attic. And homeowner on Haynes reported somebody in the attic. Okay. I'm actually made a video, went inside that house at 3322 Providence because of that state sale.
Advising that she thinks there's people inside of her residence in her attic.
Okay, and this goes on. There's a half dozen of them calls, and these are the ones I just happened to hear about, you know, on my police scanner and get them recorded. Interesting, last year I sent in a request for the city of Midland to get a list of everybody who reported something in the attic, and they said nobody had. That included me, and I have the police reports, you know, where I reported people in the attic. I have all these calls recorded from my police scanner, and so somebody at the Midland Police Department just flat out lied, and they're lying to the public. And of course, the press knows about this, and they're covering up for these crimes, you know, and because this is burglary, theft, murder, etc. You know, I mean, they're very serious felonies, okay? And so here, I just listed out some of the addresses I had proof to. I either got emails or I have recorded phone calls, whatever, and that's only in Midland, Odessa, you know. So look at there, there's a dozen homes right there, addresses that law enforcement. I think each one of these homes are probably, or most of them are all rigged like mine. There's a tunnel going from a neighbor's house over, coming up. They rigged a wall, and they can get up in the attic. And of course, they're only up in the attic when you're not there. When you're not at the home, and they know your schedule, then they have the whole home. You know, they can do anything they want. Use it for a flop house and prostitution tricks if they want. You know, set up cameras, film your kids naked. You know, and just on and on and on. Anyway, in 2018, I asked Cindy on Facebook about this, and she said, I didn't get in your freaking attic. And I was convinced that she was telling the truth. That sounded like her. Okay, so this is when Cindy was alive, okay, and on Facebook. And so it was years later, because for many years, I assumed that it was Cindy that got in my attic because she got caught getting in my house, right? And here's Cindy. You're a liar. I never came in your home after the day I left. The only one in the attic are you. I'm embarrassed. I'm acknowledging you or whatever. But see, I had that voice message on my machine, and so I had proof, absolute 100% proof, you know, that Cindy was in my attic. Even called the sheriff department to come to my house, who refused to, you know, file a report. And then I have that record from my attorney, sent her attorney, you know, and you know, and so that's what I'm saying. I came from work, found your voice on my machine, you know. Blah, 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 blah. She's like, oh, I'm busted, blah, 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 right? And so I said, so did you get up in the attic or not? It's proven you were in my home, right? And here she says, I never got in the freaking attic. And I thought, you know, I know her. I was married to her for 7 years. She's telling the truth, you know. And yeah, this time she's telling the truth. And so if Cindy wasn't in the attic, somebody else was in the attic. And that's when I'm going, that home in Hobbs was rigged like this one and all them other homes that are rigged, okay? And so later that year, Cindy mysteriously dies. And I can't even find an obituary when you go to Google it. But this is off the Hobbs High School, 1991. We were in the same class, and this was posted October 29, 2018. For those who don't know, we're sad we lost another classmate. Cindy Barton passed away at 55 years old. Okay. And so, and actually, my dad died in 2017, and that was the last time I talked to Cindy. She called me, and we talked for probably an hour or so, and I recorded that phone call too. I've never used it, posted it, whatever, but I have a recorded phone call where I talked to Cindy when my dad died, and we discussed this. You know, I think, you know, I mean, it's real clear to me that Cindy knew who was, you know, about these crimes going on, okay? And then they're going back to the Hobbs home, okay? Anyway, that meant somebody else was up there and told me that my home in Hobbs was rigged like this one in Midland. The ex-wife here told me one time, you were chosen to buy this home. And that told me the crimes against me started before I was transferred to Midland. It also meant that somebody chose for Michael Hahn to die, okay? And so the ex-wife here in Midland told me, you were chosen to buy this home. So I'm looking back and I'm thinking about it, you know, and I first looked at it, and Michael Hahn was alive. That was on October 1st, 2008. 12 days later, he was dead. And see, I couldn't make a deal, but, you know, or I walked away from negotiations because it was too much money. I made an offer, they made a counter offer, and I walked away. Well, then he mysteriously dies 12 days later in 2 different towns, okay? And you know, and I say that because the Odessa American posted a death notice on the 14th saying he died in Fort Worth. And then on the 18th, they posted a second death notice, changed changed the location of death to say he died at his residence. And that confirmed what the neighbor, Marilyn DeLucia, told me twice, that Mike died in this home. But his death certificate says he died in Fort Worth at his mom's house, okay? And so automatically we're looking at, I'm thinking that Mike Lawhon was murdered here and then taken to Fort Worth, and then this home was sold to the next sucker, me, right? And I'm told by the ex-wife that I was chosen to buy it. So so that's why I'm saying they chose for Mike Lawhon to die. That's called capital murder, is what that is, you know. And that happened the week before the 2008 oil show started, which seems important since, you know, that it's believed that there's an underground facility in the backyard used for oil show parties, and where a young girl was murdered at a 2010 oil show party, okay? This is a recent message from a friend that's a friend of Mike Lawhon, and she said that he was telling his friends people were breaking his home. This is before I moved here. Mike Lawhon was saying people was breaking in his home, and then he ends up dead in 2 different towns, right? I'm saying people are breaking into my home, and then I'm ambushed and shot with my phone lines cut. Can y'all see that? And I want to show you here. Here's the screenshots of the Odessa American saying he died in Fort Worth, and it's posted on the 14th. And then they posted a second one on the 18th and said he died at his residence. Okay, that wasn't on accident. Law enforcement needs to find out who 12 years ago at the Odessa American changed this, posted the second death notice and revised it. And here's what happened just within the last 2 months. My last video was about this. The Odessa American deleted this story. And only in the last 2 months did they delete this story saying he died in Fort Worth. And so somebody did that. Somebody did that, and they did that for a reason. Law enforcement needs it. You know, I consider that evidence and probably in a capital murder. And so maybe that's tampering with evidence in a capital murder right there. Okay, moving on. With almost all of my family turning their back on me, then I've guessed they knew that that home in Hobbs was rigged. And I also believe it was done by my first in-laws, Ann and Don Callaway. They're the grandparents of my son, Josh. Okay, so remember that Hobbs home now I believe is rigged, where people can get in the attic, whatever, underground access, tunnel, neighbor on neighbor. And it was built by my in-laws, Ann and Don Callaway. This is my dad, and this is Ann Callaway. My dad married Ann Callaway after the murder attempt on my life. And this is my son, Josh, and his wife, Jolene. Okay. And so then I write, here's where it gets real fishy. My mom dies with still unanswered questions the month before I was shot. And a few weeks later, Don Callaway dies. Okay. And I don't know how many people that know this. I've never, you know, put all this together and posted it on a video. But on December 7th, 2011, my mom dies. And there's a whole story. I got a video on that, on the death of my mom. You know, how I talked to her about an hour before she died. And she's like, Buddy Wayne, pray for me tonight. And I'm like, my mom, I pray for you every night. No, Buddy Wayne, I'm serious. And then she's dead an hour later, you know. And then I find out my brother lied to me. And I contacted the police. This all happened before I'm shot the next month, okay? So mom dies with still unanswered questions, and I knew my dad and my brother lied about what happened, and then mom dies. But then a couple weeks later, Don Callaway dies on January 5th, okay? So you got December 7th, mom dies. January 5th, Don Callaway dies. And then January 28th, I'm ambushed and shot and left for dead inside my home. And then my dad marries Ann Callaway, my first mother-in-law, you know? I created a Facebook post way back then, and it really pissed off Ann. I was joking. I said that now that I have a son with my stepsister, okay? Because my first wife's Tammy and we have Josh, right? And my dad marries my first mother-in-law, Ann Callaway, so that means I have a son with my stepsister, you know? Which sounds, you know, Jerry Springer, and it is in a way. But, of course, that, you know, that she didn't become my stepsister till 30 years later, you know, or whatever, okay? So after I shot, my dad marries Ann Callaway, my first mother-in-law, and the one suspected of rigging the Hobbs home. Ann and Don had built my home in Hobbs and the one next to it where they used to live. I suspect a tunnel connects the two. Ann told me that it was because of her that I wasn't invited to my dad's wedding, and I feel sure it was the same reason that my dad and family quit talking to me. So this is a picture, and I got it off their Facebook. This is Ann and Don Callaway. This is my dad getting married, and this is my brother Danny here, okay? You know who's missing here? Me. I wasn't invited to my dad's wedding. And you know, here I survived a capital murder attempt, right? You know, I'm the crippled victim living under the threat of death, people breaking in my home, okay? And then under this, I said, this was a hate-filled message that I got from Ann Callaway after I'd been shot and left for dead inside my home and then crippled for life, okay? And I'm going to read this little short read to you. Ann Callaway's writing this to me. Buddy Wayne, you can say or do whatever you want to say or do to your family, but you better back off mine. You most definitely have some mental issues that need to be addressed. Now, keep in mind, it's proven I'm the victim of a murder attempt now. You need to ask for help so that we may all be a family. Boy, I don't know what you are on, but it's some bad stuff. Okay, more slander, lies, saying I'm a drug user. When I found Don dead in the shower at 6 a.m. on January 5th, 2012, Josh is the first person I called. I did not know he was at your house because you had called him about all this idiotic stuff. And Josh was at my house because it was for a late Christmas is what it was, and January 5th. He took his gun because he goes with him everywhere. And see, when I drove up, Josh shows up early and he's wearing holsters and guns. You know, I thought that was weird. You know, he came to see if he could some way help you. Little did he know that you had stoned yourself out of your mind, Buddy Wayne. No conspiracy on my husband's death. He had a massive heart attack per his death certificate. You married my daughter and had a son almost 34 years ago. I dare you to say that you had a child by your stepsister. That was the story I told you. And then you wonder why we have nothing to do with you. By the way, you did not raise your son. Remember Louisiana, Buddy Wayne, or shall I remind you what horrible things you have said against your son? Insinuated Josh is a well-respected father, 2 beautiful girls, doing okay, has no desire to be a part of you because of your issues, and neither does your 2 daughters by someone else. And neither does your 2 daughters by someone else. Isn't this enough for you to go seek help? Is this drug worth your family, both sides your family, your quality of life? For God's sake, do something. We all know that your injury was not done by burglars. Last but not least, because of the humiliation, the lies of my own, and I will be seeking legal action against you. You have publicly tried to destroy my respect, my judgment, and have totally embarrassed your son beyond words. You did it on line, my friend. This is a federal offense. You must be sent somewhere for help that no one can help you but with God and medical help. You are always throwing people's names around. My name is Callaway, and VJ Callaway will not appreciate these accusations that you're throwing around. I advise you, big boy, you better back off some back statements. PDQ, see you, by the way. I didn't want you at my wedding. That is the main reason you were not invited. It was one of the happiest occasions of my life, and I didn't want some malicious, insane person around. I cannot believe how you have ruined whatever. And let's go. Ruined your life. No one did it to you, Buddy Wayne. You did it. You lost your job. You lost your benefits, your integrity, your family. Is this stuff worth all of this? Now keep in mind that absolute undeniable proof shows I wasn't shot with my gun. So we know somebody came to my home and tried to murder me, right? That's besides catching a dozen secret police on camera. I had to pay to get identified. Multiple people, including a candidate for sheriff that said our last sheriff used to hang out in the underground facility here, you know. And don't forget the woman recorded talking about the 4 3-bedroom underground homes, 25 foot deep, where they're having pedophile parties, you know. But keep in mind that is my first mother-in-law right there, Ann Callaway, and that's what she wrote me. And in retrospect, I'm guessing my entire family knew that home in Hobbs was rigged. This was Christmas '09, and the next year I made my first call to the police reporting a burglary. Okay, and I tell you what. Even this is a family picture at Christmas. This is my brother, my dad, my mom, me. This is Jennifer and Chance and my first grandson, Hayden, Josh, my son. There's Kylie, Jolene, and my nephew, Justin. Okay. And so that's at mom and dad's house in '09. And the next year I made my first call for a burglary. And then of course, a year after that, I'm ambushed and shot and left for dead. And so that's where we're at right now. And here's another comment from a friend. I'm sorry that they treated you this way. And so it's what I've said before, that the facts and the evidence is on my side, so there's still unanswered questions, but there's a whole bunch of information that's come out. I'll be sending this to the sheriff and the Texas Rangers. But of course, if this Hobbs home is rigged, which I suspect it is, was, whatever, then, well, you know, that's a federal, you know, if this crime ring is rigging private homes for burglary, theft, and murder across the nation, that you know, nationwide racketeering, organized crime, then that's a federal offense. That's how come I got hold of Homeland Security, and you know, and I got movies on Homeland Security, right? And how come I contact the FBI? But it also, I believe it also believes all these crimes are connected back to the young girl that was murdered at the 2010 oil show party. And that's why I've been contacting the sheriff, the new sheriff, okay? Because remember, it said the old sheriff, Painter, that died, that he used to hang out in the underground facilities here. A sheriff candidate said that. These are some of the videos on my YouTube channel, Buddy Webb on YouTube, so y'all can go check them out. And I'm going to close this up. This was, you know, a scripture of the day, but it came from a Facebook post, you know, of a woman, you know, basically going, give up, you know, stop, you know, no, you know, if you can't get justice, then give up, you know. And I'm like, no, that's not scripture. No, here, let me explain this to you. I'd never give up. Jesus told the story of the widow and the unjust judge where she persistently said, give me justice. And since she didn't give up, the judge relented. I thought this parable might help somebody with what the Word of God says. And, you know, in that Facebook post, I said, I think this will help somebody. Give up, give up, give up. You know, that's what it was, you know. The destruction of justice that has gone on here is unprecedented. And it still continues with proof of homeowners all over report people in the attic. Multiple people document reporting tunnels and underground homes here. Proof of horrific and nightmarish medical crimes. Proof that the press is covering up crimes against the public. And several suspected murders, including that of a young girl at a 2010 oil show party. The remains of a young girl were found outside of Midland in 2013. Don't you think it's odd that nobody seems to care to find out who that was or what happened to her? That could be your daughter. That is why we never give up, you know. And this is the parable that I was referencing of Luke 18:1-8. And Jesus told this parable right here. And basically it's a parable about persistence. And he told the parable of the fact that it says never lose, always pray and never lose heart, okay? And he tells it that there's a certain judge. He didn't fear God nor respected man, you know? And this widow kept coming and saying, give me justice against my adversary, you know? And then finally the judge says, though I neither fear God nor respect man, yet because she keeps bothering me, I'll give her justice. So she will not beat me down by her continual coming, you know? And so there's the thought of the day, everybody. Share this story. You know, like I said, that could have been your daughter that's murdered. This is Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.